Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 375 of the All Dolphins podcast for October 4th, 2024. So it's a 10-4 edition. Yeah,
Nice. 10
right there.
4. 10
10-4.
4.
How about that?
Yeah.
Lots of news since we last spoke to Mr. Perk, because on Thursday's episode, it was Behind Enemy Lines with Ben Volen from the Boston Globe. And if you missed it, shame on you, fellow listeners, or listeners, I should say. Ben was very, very good. And as always, very blunt about the state of the Patriots, which is not good, which is the perfect remedy for the Dolphins to get back on track. And they need to get back on track. And I wrote a column today on Miami Dolphins on SI.com suggesting that this is I don't believe in this notion of must-win games unless you're mathematically eliminated. There's no such thing. But this is about as close as it gets if the Dolphins are going to salvage this season.
Yeah, I call it a need to win game. That's what I call these, the need to win game, because, right, it's not must win until you're out, but it's about as close as it gets. 1-4 would be disastrous on a lot of levels. I do think the Dolphins are going to win, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, no, I like it. You provide the teasers. Guest host who provides the teasers. Love it. Yeah. By the way, in case you hadn't figured it out, I'm joined again by Chris Perkins. SunSentinel.com, the Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk, which usually it's every Tuesday. And lots to talk about. Today was the day of the final injury report. There's the Odell Beckham watch in full force, and then the roster move. And we're going to start with the roster move because it also could apply to Odell Beckham's situation or maybe Cam Smith. The Dolphins released quarterback Tim Boyle on Friday afternoon. And see, my initial reaction, because this is my bad knee-jerk reaction, was like, knew it all along that Mike McDaniel and Tyler Huntley had nothing to do with Skylar Thompson being injured with his ribs. It was purely based on performance until, and I'm going to have to look up this gentleman's name. Somebody on Twitter set me straight, pointed out what exactly the Dolphins were doing. And they did that last year, by the way, with Robbie Chosen, as I will explain in a second. Mark Harriman, by the way, hat tip. I hope you watch the podcast, Mark. If you do, major hat tip. Great pull on your part. Twitter follower pointed out what the Dolphins did with this is they're still going to have Tim Boyle serve as the backup to Tyler Huntley on Sunday after they re-sign him to the practice squad Saturday and then elevate him to the game day roster. At the same time, creating a roster opening that they might need for somebody like, say, Odell Beckham Jr.
Hopefully OBJ is the one who gets that roster spot. It could go to Cam Smith, as you say, but look, OBJ is the guy who's needed for many, many reasons. I will list a couple of them. To me, you need to boost the offense. You need to boost the offensive morale. You need to give Mike McDaniel some more options. You need to give Snoop Huntley some more options. That's a few reasons.
Absolutely, without question. It provides somebody else as an option other than Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And we should talk about Tyreek Hill at some point on the show as well, because he needs to be – he's been taken to task by most of the South Florida outlets, including mine as well, with all the daily newspapers, and for good reason. Sorry. But those are the facts. You mentioned it could be Cam Smith as well. Cam Smith, who was designated to return when he was put on IR on August 27th, practiced all week. Both he and OBJ were full participants in practice on Friday, which certainly would seem, as though they would be ready to go. Both of them, and this is where the Dolphins now have one roster opening with the move with Tim Boyle. They can create another one. I'm sure if we scour the roster right now, I'm sure we can pick up somebody who could be cut, or I don't know if there's anybody else who really needs to go on IR right now. In fact, I know there isn't. So it could be that one of the two is activated for the game against the Patriots. It could be that it's only one of them. It could be that it's neither of them. Mike McDaniel didn't want to commit before practice on Friday. But I think if we read the tea leaves and the conversation that Odell Beckham Jr. had with reporters on Thursday, kind of sounds like he's ready to go. He's been raring to go, and this is the time to do it.
Yeah, I think he's the one who's coming back. And look, I don't know if it was me and you who were having the conversation, but if Cam Smith is ready, Andrew Meyer is somebody who, maybe you release him, the center, because you do have Liam Eichenberg who can play center and Lester Cotton who can play guard. So you do have some options there. I think that might be your best option. You're not going to release any receivers. Jeff Wilson Jr. would be the long shot, but I don't see that happening.
No, I'm going to throw out another name who would massively piss off one of our fellow beat writers, Joe Shad. If you're watching, if it's a cornerback for cornerback swap, Ethan Bonner, maybe, I don't know. I don't want to get in Joe's bad graces, but I'm just mentioning if it's sorry, Joe.
He's going to hear about this.
That's fine. No worries. Okay, so the injury report came out today. It's the final injury report for the week. The Dolphins ruled out one player, that being safety Jordan Poyer. By the reaction on social media, man, some fans are harsh. And I have to say this about all fans. First of all, if you're watching, hat tip. Appreciate your loyalty to us and to the team, because there are a lot of people who are actually bailing out now 4 games into the regular season. I mean, come on, man. Like, wow. I wrote a story last week about teams that have started 1-3. And the Dolphins, for example, the last 3 times they started 1-3, they went on to finish with a winning record. And the feedback I get, a lot of it is, give it up, season's over. It's 4 games. I mean, seriously. And last I checked, I could be wrong, they were 1-7 in 2021 and wound up at 1.8. They were 8-7 with a shot to make the playoffs. And that 2021 team had nowhere near the talent this team has.
Yeah, I'm sick of all the excuse making as far as, well, blah, blah, blah. Look, you still got a lot of talent on this team. And I think that I shouldn't say expected, but I think it's very realistic. I'll say this again, that they go into December like a game under 500-ish. And I don't know what the numbers would be, but 5-6 or something like that. 3-7 should be off the table. They're better than that. They have way more talent than that. And considering who's on this schedule, that's almost inexcusable from where we sit right now, even in light of Tua's situation and Jalen Phillips' situation.
Quick note on Tua, by the way, since you just mentioned him. The NFL's the chief medical officer, I believe, Alan Sills, said Friday that the decision for when if Tua comes back, will be made strictly by him, the team doctor, and the independent doctor who will examine him. The league will not get involved in it. So for those who were suggesting that the NFL won't let Tua come back, it's a bad look. According to Alan Sills, no, the NFL is not going to get involved in that decision. And again, because I get this question all the time, when is Tua coming back? Don't know. Yeah, concussions are fickle. There's no timetable. There's no set timetable like other injuries. So again, all we'll say is all signs are good right now. The first game he's eligible to play is Week 8 against the Arizona Cardinals at Hard Rock Stadium. We'll leave it at that. But there's no point in saying this is the target date and all that. And certainly Mike McDaniel's not going to go there at all.
No. And look, for the record, I think Tua should be allowed to come back. I applaud the NFL for publicly saying they're not going to be involved, because conspiracy theorists were out there. And even if you're not a conspiracy theorist, which I'm not, I thought the NFL was going to have some kind of
I love conspiracies. I love them.
Yeah, I'm generally not, but I thought the NFL, for many reasons, would have some kind of say in this. It's good to hear them declare publicly they're going to be out of it.
Yeah, and in the meantime, again, the offense is not going to look the same, because as I've said before, there's thousands of reps involved with Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle, to where they got that thing going like a machine. Okay, you can't expect Tyler Huntley to come in and a week later have the same kind of timing. But this is where Tyler Huntley can deliver in other areas, either scrambling or when he does have the opportunity to make the throws, make the throws. Rest of the injury report, 3 players listed as questionable, and this is where the Tim Boyle move. We get back to it. Skylar Thompson listed as questionable, was limited in practice Friday. Odell Beckham Jr. listed as questionable. Cam Smith listed as questionable. Everybody else, no game status designation. What does that mean? It means that Kendall Fuller will be back after missing the Tennessee game with a concussion. Teron Armstead will be back after missing the Tennessee game with a concussion. Raheem Mostert will finally be back after missing the last 3 games with a chest injury. David Long Jr. will be back after missing the Tennessee game with a hamstring injury. So you're looking at, I mean, obviously we have to mention the fact Jalen Phillips is now on IR, but overall healthier than the Dolphins have been in a couple of weeks.
And I think the Teron Armstead return should not be overlooked from this standpoint. I thought Patrick Paul played pretty well. Frank Smith did not. And you know how rosy this team is and the coaches. When Frank Smith was asked about Patrick Paul, he said, well, there are some things that he could have done better. And it's just like, wow, that's for a Dolphins coach, that's the equivalent of ripping somebody.
That's
so
the equivalent of saying he sucked.
Yeah, and I talked to Patrick Paul, and he told me one of the first things he said, I went and dapped him up. Hey, you know, how was the debut? And he goes, well, there's a lot of things I could have done better. I'm like, wow, they must have really gotten on him. He had his usual smile on his face. He is a very, very upbeat, happy kid. He's smiling all the time. I like checking in with him. But my point is, if he was that shaky, you get Teron back, maybe the 5-step drop is now a possibility, right? You've got somebody to protect the quarterback's blind side. Maybe you could even, revolutionary idea, use max protection sometimes and give Tyler Huntley a little bit more time to get the ball out of his hand on some deep routes to the tight end, maybe even a seam route by the tight end. Yeah,
What's
but
that?
I do think that I know.
What's that?
I know exactly. I do think that Teron Armstead coming back could be a big boost to the offense, maybe bigger than even OBJ.
Oh, I agree. I absolutely completely agree. No, without question. And the thing with Patrick Paul that people have to understand is he's a very good prospect, but the book on him and the scout, there are a lot of scouts who were very kind of in agreement on this, that he's needed some time for seasoning and maturing and all that, and getting his game to develop. So to expect him to come in and all of a sudden, boom, you got, Richmond Webb at left tackle, not totally realistic. A couple of other quick notes on the injury report. Interesting that Jalen Ramsey surfaced with a knee injury, limited, but he's got no game status designation. And then this one's interesting for me, and you can maybe shed some light on this. Tyreek Hill has not injury-related, personal, but limited. I mean, he showed up late for practice, or he had to leave early for something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking he had to leave early for something, and I don't want to go to the dark side with Tyreek, but we're probably going to later. Could be a court appearance, could be health related, could be child related. Who knows? I shouldn't go to the dark place. That's shame on me. That's shame on me. But
bad perk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, like as I mentioned earlier, like we kind of all took him to task.
Yeah.
Because for me, part of it is the trolling on social media at a time when he's not playing well and the team is really not playing well either. Like, dude, don't you have anything better to do? And I also made the point, and I think that got misconstrued also when he tweeted, was it Tuesday or Wednesday? Woke up to trade news exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it may not have been about the quote unquote, the Chiefs are going to trade for Tyreek Hill. It may have been that Davante Adams could be on the verge of getting traded, and he's a fellow wide receiver. And by the way, if you don't know the connection between Davante Adams and Tyreek Hill, Davante Adams and his desire for more money is a big reason Tyreek Hill wound up with the Dolphins in the first place, because Tyreek saw Davante Adams' contract back in 2022, and he was like, hello, I want some of that, and approached the Chiefs, and the Chiefs were like, no, we're good. And that led to the Dolphins making the trade for him. And then there was the issue of like the little thing on the tirade on the sidelines Monday night. And then he's asked about it, and he's like, no, I'm giving encouragement. Let's say 25, we need more of that. 24, we need more of that. And I'm like, dude, first of all, he's not the first player to lose his crap, for lack of a better term, on the sideline. It's not the end of the world. than just say, listen, I was very frustrated. It happens in the heat of a game. But to go like, nah. It's just me trying to motivate. I mean, come on, man. Seriously. And this is after skipping out on the media obligations after the game. And yes, it's part of the contract. Players are supposed to be made available after games and once a week. And on top of that, he's a team captain. It's just a really, really bad look.
Yeah, I think one of the things that bothers me most about this is, Tyreek, are you serious about this or not? Because there's a certain point where, okay, some levity helps in this situation, right? Where you say, I'm trying to blow some steam off for everybody else. It's a little too tense around here. But when you lie about what's going on and you try to misguide people and you try to deny what is, I'll just say, apparently the truth. We don't know, but what's apparently the truth. What Wes Welker kind of led us to believe is the truth, because Wes Welker went to the example of, well, you've seen Tom Brady, get pissed off. And so, Tyreek, just say you were pissed off, right? I was blowing off steam. Everybody's frustrated. I was pissed off, but and days later to not tell us the truth about this episode, it really just kind of speaks poorly for a team leader. And you almost get the feeling that players might have felt obligated to name Tyreek a team leader, a team captain, because he is the best player on the team. You can't have him as not be a team captain. But I just think some of the players in that locker room, the majority of them, have to look at Tyreek and go, man, we're all going in this direction, and he's kind of going in this direction. This isn't good.
But that's a great point you make, though, over here. Like, did he absolutely have to be a team captain? Because I seem to recall, correct me if I'm wrong, was Xavier Howard ever a team captain? And in a lot of years, he was the best or one of the best defensive players.
Yep.
But he wasn't necessarily a guy who would.
He was not team captain material.
Sorry?
He was not team captain material.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this is no shot at him, but Xavier was kind of like, how shall I put this very delicately? Like, he's in a business. He was in a business. This is a guy who would negotiate his contract on a fairly regular basis. So
yeah.
And I know that Tyreek, again, it was a good guy. I mean, I look at guys like Calais Campbell, Teron Armstead. They scream. You look at them and you see the way they comport themselves, and it's like screams leader.
Yeah.
And that's
even Jalen Ramsey from a distance, he doesn't like dealing with us.
Correct.
So it's apparent he has respect in that locker room from the way he came back from the injury last year, from the plays he makes on the field. So yeah, that's another one that somebody's got to talk to Tyreek. Somebody's got to pull him aside. Hopefully it's Calais or somebody, or Teron or Jalen Ramsey, and say, hey, look, I know you've got your ring, but straighten up and do this for us. Like, we're all in this together. We know you're the fastest player and you've got your social media stuff and blah, blah, blah. But, there's a lot of us, Tua included, that we're not going to get many more shots at this.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's the old fuddy-duddy in me. Yes, I am an old fuddy-duddy. But to me, I'm not a big fan of like the trolling thing.
Right.
Especially, I mean, but it's cool if you want to do it in the off season.
Yeah,
knock yourself out. It can be fun if it's done well. If it can be fun in the regular season to begin with, not a big fan of it. Especially when you're 1-3 and playing like crap, and then you had that nasty play at the end of the first drive for the Dolphins that basically handed Tennessee the ball. I think you may want to like keep a lower profile. Or as the expression goes, take the temperature of the room. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Hoop, let me ask you this. And I wrote down this note about a Tyreek demand. Mm-hmm. If Tyreek even politely goes to Mike McDaniel, Frank Smith, and says, y'all have got to get me the ball more, what do you think is the reaction? And I preface this with saying, we all remember in the offseason when Tyreek said, oh, yeah, I need to be paid among the top 10 receivers. Mm-hmm. Action was taken. Would they force the ball to Tyreek at the for the sake of the good of the offense, I actually don't know myself. I don't know how they would handle that situation. But Mike is always very player friendly. I don't know that he's told Tyreek no many times. I'm not sure this organization told Tyreek to straighten up when he had the incident at the marina. I don't know what would happen if even if he politely made, I don't think Tyreek would storm in, but even if he said, look, y'all have got to get me the ball more, bottom line. What do you think the reaction would be?
I think they might say we're trying, dude. It's not getting there, but we're trying, because here's the thing. Can anybody argue the point that Dolphins are better when Tyreek gets a lot of touches?
That's the point. That's the whole point right there. Like, what could they say to him? I don't – and I'll ask you this on a totally separate topic. Oh, well, kind of related. How often do you want Snoop Huntley running the ball and risking cracked ribs? You almost have – that takes away an element of the offense, but – dude, do you want Tim Boyle in there running? I don't know. There's all these kind of different things. So does that support Tyreek's case that get me the ball? Y'all don't want Snoop running 12, 15 times a game. These things, those are kind of separate issues, but they're kind of related. But if Tyreek made a demand, what would the Dolphins do?
WWDD. No, you make a good point, but with Tyler Huntley as your quarterback, is that not the best play or the best weapon for the offense? Is his scrambling ability?
It is.
This is not Lamar Jackson, where he's a great scrambler, but he also can throw the ball. Yep. Tyler Huntley as a passer is inconsistent, and we saw that Monday night. And what were the best plays he made? There were the scrambles. So this is where you have kind of a dilemma here.
Yep.
So I don't know. And I'm curious as to know where those who were like, the offense is too Tyreek centric. We got to spread the ball around. I wonder where those folks are right now. And again, this is your guys got to make the offense run, and Dolphins need to get back to that. Let us move quickly or slowly, however we want to do it, to the Patriots injury report, which is, long. 13 players with a game status designation, plus 2 guys they put on IR Friday, including, as we already knew, center David Andrews, who may have been their best offensive player. And now 4 members of their secondary, I have to double check to see if they're 4 starters, but 4 members of their secondary are questionable. Safeties, Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers are 2 of them. Cornerbacks, Jonathan Jones and Marcus Jones are 2 of them, although I think Marcus Jones is like the punt returner. But anyway, he's listed as a cornerback, so that's 4 members of the secondary questionable. And then they have a couple of wide receivers who are questionable, including KJ Osborne, Kendrick Bourne, who's trying to come back from PUP. They have linebacker Sione Takitaki, who's listed as doubtful. He's also was a guy who was on one of the injured lists. I'll just mention the names real quickly. Anthony Jennings is also questionable. Guard Michael Jordan. No, not that Michael Jordan. Nick Leverett, Vidarian Lowe, Marte Mapu, and Layden Robinson. And Nick Leverett, by the way, is the guy who backs up David Andrews at center. So it's a bad, banged-up team that the Dolphins are going to be facing on Sunday, which is why, as far as I know, I think the Patriots are still favored in that game with the betting line, which is crazy to me, which is a sad statement on the Dolphins. You can correct me if I'm wrong here, Perk. Has the line moved?
I don't know. I didn't pay attention. I was looking. I did over under, which was 36.5. And I took the over.
Where'd you go?
Over.
Over.
I took over last week in the. So I've got a. I did a Chris Perkins betting guide before the season. My 10 best bets. I'm 2-0. So yeah. So and I don't gamble. I don't bet. But so I have that, and then I have me and David Furones do prop bets every Friday. So my best bet, we do a best bet and a long shot. My best bet last week was the over, and so that came in. So nice. Yeah, baby.
What's the best bet this week? Has it been printed?
This week is the over is the best bet this week.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's 36.5, and then my long shot was Snoop Huntley. Did I go with the carries or the yards? I think I went with 80 rushing yards with Snoop. It was like, I think it was 12 plus carries or 80 rushing yards that I was trying to decide between. Yeah.
Whoa.
So we'll see.
80 yards. Whoa.
Yeah, I know. That's, well, it's a long shot. That's right. I mean, it's a long shot.
No, correct. But here's the thing, though, is as Ben Volen mentioned on the Behind Enemy Lines episode of the All Dolphins podcast, one of the issues New England has had on defense is their coverage has been very good in the secondary. Their pass rush is not good, and it's undisciplined as well in allowing quarterbacks to get outside the pocket and scramble and buy a lot of time. So maybe that comes into play, and if Tyler Huntley is able to get outside the pocket against the New England defense, maybe he can do some damage. How about 100-yard rushing for a Dolphin quarterback? How does that sound?
That sounds like a guaranteed victory, right? Like if Huntley rushes for 100, like you almost cannot lose, right? You got to be at like 99.8% win chances, right?
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember if the Dolphins, and I could have looked it up, if the Dolphins have ever had a 100-yard rusher as a quarterback. I know Ryan Tannehill had a game against Pittsburgh where he had a long run.
I think Ryan Fitzpatrick has the single game record. I think the Dolphins intern Ryan told me that because we were talking about that with Snoop. I think I want to say it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I would have to double check.
Yeah, we'll double check because that sounds questionable to me.
Well, he did lead the team in rushing one season.
Yes, he did, as Ryan will tell you.
Yes, that's right.
In fact, somebody was pointing out there's a tweet about rushing, and then Fitzpatrick replied, like, as somebody who once led his team in rushing, I can tell you.
That's great. That's great.
Of course, he didn't mention the fact that he had like 240 yards that year, but that's beside the point. He didn't either. And by the way, another running backs on that team, here's this first segue, was Myles Gaskin, who was released by the Minnesota Vikings yesterday. 2 weeks after they signed him, they promoted him from the practice squad to the active roster, and the word is he's going to go back on the practice squad. And Savon Ahmed's on the Denver Broncos practice squad. The Dolphins, speaking of practice squads, we didn't get the chance to address this because we were doing Behind Enemy Lines, did add a edge defender to replace Jalen Phillips. Tyus Bowser, former second-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens. They signed him off the Seahawks practice squad. Obviously, Baltimore Ravens, he has experience with Anthony Weaver. Mike McDaniel mentioned that in talking today about the appeal. This is a guy played at the University of Houston whose NFL career, to be quite blunt, has been a bit of a disappointment. I think there was a lot of raw physical ability, but never really quite panned out. It's got, in writing about him, I believe it's 24 career starts. 17 of them came in one season, which was 2021. So you do the math, that's seven starts in these other 4 years combined. So it's going to have to be you double checking my math?
No. I was thinking, is that when Weaver was in Houston? 2021?
No. He played at Bowser played at the University of Houston. Played with the Ravens.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
But it's going to have to be a collective effort at the edge defender position. And as I always caution, and I'm going to do this again, if you pick up a guy off somebody's practice squad or off waivers 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks into a season, don't expect necessarily whatever you get's a bonus.
Right.
Because there's not a really long history of guys who come in and boom, everybody else missed the boat on him and he was a stud all along. So,
you're trying to catch lightning in a bottle, pretty much.
Correct. And you need to build depth so he can contribute because, you look at the other guys on the roster, it's Quentin Bell, who's a young player with very little NFL experience, rookie Chop Robinson, and rookie Mohamed Kamara to go along with Emmanuel Agba. And as I wrote yesterday on the website, again, please check out the website, Miami Dolphins on SI, tons of content. I wrote yesterday about how crazy is it that in mid-July, Emmanuel Agba is sitting at home looking for a job, and right now he's like the number one guy on the Dolphins edge defender, in the Dolphins edge defender group.
Right. Life comes at you fast, right? As Ferris Bueller would tell you.
Man, and Dolphins got lucky there in a way that nobody picked them up. Because this wasn't a scrub. It was kind of surprising to me that they were able to go ahead and re-sign him once Shaquille Barrett decided he wanted to retire. You know.
By the way, man, these 30-somethings for the Dolphins, right? Now that Jordan Poyer is out, Shaq Barrett, Raheem Mostert, Teron Armstead, Jordan Poyer, they've been in and out of the lineup as expected. OBJ just making his debut. We all said this. It's a real dice roll when you're relying on guys who are 30 and over because they're not going to get any healthier.
Yeah, and the one exception is Calais Campbell, who's been a complete stud. I mean,
right.
He can. The only issue with him, the only complaint you might have, is he can't give you a ton of snaps because he's 38. But man, that dude's been good. And on top of his defense, to boot, he partially blocked upon on Monday night. Somebody asked him, like, what else could he have done to make it a full block? And I was going to joke with Danny Crossman. I don't know if he was in a joking mood. I was going to joke he could be 6'10" instead of 6'8", and he would have gotten there.
Right. Crossman wouldn't have laughed.
I decided not to go there. We should point out the Dolphins, when they signed Bowser, had worked out 3 players beforehand, 3 edge defenders to see who could fill the spot. A gentleman by the name of Cam Gill. Can't say I'm familiar with him. Then there was a former UM guy. And I'm going to suck right now. I'm going to have to look it up. Al Mohammed, I believe, is his last name.
AQM.
Played the UM.
AQM. Yeah.
Let me.
Al-Qadim Muhammad.
Al-Qadim Muhammad. There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the other one was former Dolphin Shaq Lawson. Who was part of the 2020 offseason shopping spree. If you remember that offseason, Dolphins went and signed a bunch of players to very nice contracts, including Byron Jones. Shaq Lawson, after 1 year, Dolphins decided Shaq Lawson, not so much. Traded him to Houston for linebacker Benardrick McKinney, and neither player, and if you're talking about two established veterans got traded for each other, neither of them played it down for their new team. Because the Dolphins cut McKinney and the Texans traded Lawson to the Jets. Another player in that 2020 offseason shopping spree, Kyle Van Noy, who we should mention was the AFC Defensive Player of the Month, had 2 sacks in each of the final 3 games. And I see, Perk, you're smirking here because you probably know what's coming next.
Yes.
We're going to have to mention it. Kyle Van Noy hat tip. He was really good for Baltimore last year, and he's off to a great start. Yeah. Not necessarily a media favorite from his short time with the Dolphins. Let's just say he was prickly. Would that be a polite way of saying it?
Combative.
I don't know if it's combative. It was I like prickly. I like prickly.
Yeah.
Prickly's a good term. So, but hat tip, the dude's playing some kind of ball here.
Yeah, how about that?
No, absolutely. Trying to see if there's anything else we need to catch up on. And go ahead, Perk.
I was just going to say I am picking the Dolphins to win. In all seriousness, look, as much as I've banged on this team for a lot of things, its construction, its plan at quarterback, I think they're motivated by the wrong things. I thought they took those contract extensions and restructures way too seriously. I do admire this team's fighting spirit, and I do like this team's depth. This team does not give up. It is limited in talent in some areas, such as offensive line, but they do play their hearts out. They are going to play hard. I expect them to get a good result on Sunday. It's probably not going to be pretty, but I do see this as a team playing an inferior opponent. New England is not good right now. The Dolphins have up there and take care of business.
Okay, you went Max Headroom on us for a little bit here with that. Your internet is kind of. I hope everyone gets the reference, the Max Headroom reference. That was a cool show.
I remember that. But
Perk wrote about what's the word I'm looking for? The seriousness level of the Dolphin player in one of his columns. Perk's been on a roll. You've had a very, very good week with the columns. I encourage you guys to check them out. sunsentinel.com. Just like, more importantly, check out Miami Dolphins on SI.com, but absolutely check out Perk's work as well. I'm making my final prediction on the website tomorrow. I don't know anymore because I thought the Dolphins were going to beat Tennessee, But in my defense, I said that the key was going to be the Dolphins defense taking advantage of Will Levis' generosity with the ball. And on the first drive, the Dolphins got an INT from Agba, but then Levis got injured and had to leave the game. So I don't take an L on that one because I couldn't predict that he would get injured. But with New England, again, if the Dolphins don't beat New England, we got problems.
Yeah. Major problems.
Major problems.
Yeah.
So, on that somber note,
Dolphins win, baby. Dolphins are going to win.
There you go.
Dolphins are going to win.
Okay, programming note here for the All Dolphins podcast. Next time we will be here will be right after the game on Sunday. I haven't confirmed with him, but I see no reason why he wouldn't join me again. Ken Levica, ESPN radio talk show host. Yeah. Never one to be shy about his opinions either.
Tell Ken I said what's up, man. He's one of my favorites. Known him a long time. Good man.
He was on a roll after the game Monday night. So Ken and I will be here right after the game on Sunday. Hope you join us then. Thank you so very much for joining us now. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and enjoy the beginning of your weekend until we meet again on Sunday. And that goes for you.
You too.
As well, my friend Perk.